When we first started Nihi Bisita, we expected to air it for 12 weeks. Thanks to your response, we extended the show to 18, and eventually we did 25 episodes. For the next 2 episodes, starting this evening, we're going to rewind our tape, so to speak, and look at selected scenes of the episodes we have done thus far. We want to make sure that we're on track with our stated goal of focusing attention on those things that are dear to us culturally and naturally. We started our series with a visit to Two Lovers Point, a place with both legend and logic tell us it's hallowed ground. We imagine one of our ancestral chiefs looking over the progress we have made and remarking, "Gacho, I'm very happy that we're entering the next century with our own sons and daughters leading the way." We next visited historic Plaza de España and saw the walls that used to separate American from Chamorro school children in pre-World War II Guam, as a reminder of where we have been as a people. We then visited Orodi Peninsula, which has played a major role in all the conflicts by colonial powers over many centuries over who should rule Guam. Changing the subject, we went to Tizan, Guam's breadbasket, and marveled at the new addition to the AB-1 at Guam International Airport, and reminded our people of the tragic history of that precious real estate. We ended that episode with these words.
When next you visit the airport, set that chin up high, put your hands behind your back, and walk around like you own stock in the place. You do. And that kind of stock that you own cannot be traded. It can only be inherited. It's called Chamorro stock.
From Tizan, we traced the Spanish King's Highway, El Camino Real, and followed the 4 bridges that still remain from Umatag to Agana, highlighted by the bridge over Sella River, still in remarkably good shape. The lodges of Guam caught our attention next. Visiting them in their original locations, where they have remained undisturbed for centuries, was an emotional as well as an inspirational experience. My own sentiment is that the most fitting tribute that we can pay our ancestors is to leave the stones in peace and tranquility in the locations that they chose themselves. Probing further into the jungle, we reaffirm the abundance of Guam, as depicted in this beautiful view of water everywhere, and every bit of it fit to drink. On the same visit to Fena, we sold over 350 carabaos, descendants of the ones that we had to cut loose from our farms and pastures as our people were herded to the concentration camps in World War II. Our next visit was to the steppes of Guam, called Spanish, Japanese, Guamanian, and American steppes, plus one called round steppes, for those who believe that when in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream, and shout. But the highlight of this visit was a set of antique Chamorro steps, beautifully aged and covered with moss, leading up to a bountiful coconut tree. No story on Guam is complete without mention of the missing village of Sumai. Once the most beautiful village on Guam, it was reduced to ashes during the recapture of Guam, and its residents were never allowed to rebuild. A lonely cross reflects the stark reality and the sadness that are still associated with that loss, which still pains those who continue to call Sumai their home village. We then look once more into the saga of Sergeant Soichi Yokoi, Japanese Imperial Army, who hid and survived in the jungles of Guam for 28 years. He taught us a lesson about the resources of our land and how to harvest them. But above all, he taught us a lesson in loyalty, courage, and human endurance. We celebrated Christmas with the Belans of Christmas, our story on the traditional religious manner in which the Chamorros observe the Christmas season with songs and novenas. After Christmas, we went to the cave of the great Chamorro chief, Gado, and were captivated with the pictographs on the inner walls of the cave and the multiple lusongs at the entrance. I had heard that Chief Gado was able to husk a coconut in 2 seconds, and I tried to do it, but I could not do it in less than 3 seconds. We then look at the many, many names of which Guam has been called over the years in our episode on Nombre en Guam, including the name Islas Marianas, which replaced Islas Ladrones, and Isla de San Juan, the name by which Guam was known for a few years, given to us by Padre San Vitores. And speaking of the Blessed San Vitores, our episode on this extraordinary priest reminded us that it was he who, as he was about to be killed, said, "Si Jews maasi matapa." To this day, "Si Jews maasi," which still means, "May God have mercy on you," is our way of saying thank you. The legendary flying proa was the subject of our next episode as we lamented the loss of this precious little boat, once the envy of international seafarers. It perished from human neglect and is now but a footnote in history, a fate that awaits many things that are dear to us naturally and culturally, unless we rally around efforts to protect and preserve them. Our next episode, Chalan Guam, revealed the Chamorro sense of humor by the use of such street names as Chalan Sinetsut, or Street of Regret, and Chalan Langit, Street to Heaven. There's even a Nevermind Road, but sadly, there is no road designating the most popular street of my youth, Ibirada, Gestan Mariandag. We have covered the first 16 episodes of Nihi Bisita tonight. Next week, we will show you highlights of the remaining 9. I want to thank you again for your support of this program, which I have truly enjoyed preparing for you. All of us in the golden years of our lives try to give back to the community, which has given so much to us. We may not be able to pay the principal in full, but we try to keep up with the interest payments.
Before I leave, I'd like to tell you something. This morning, while I was taking some medication, my 7-year-old grandson, Vicente Tomas, asked me why I was taking the medication. And I said, "It's for my sore throat." He thought about that for a minute, and then he said, "Papa, maybe you talk too much." And you know, maybe he has a point. So I promised him I was going to make my comments short. Thank you very much for watching Nihi Bisita. We'll see you next week. Si Ben Blaz. Buenas noches.